I understand the firearm.
In Colorado Springs, volunteers like Peter Leiser are spreading the word about ways to safely store firearms. Cassandra Walton runs the Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention Partnership. She works with volunteers like Peter on how to talk with people in the community about securing their guns.
El Paso County is pro-firearm. We have a lot of people who love to hunt here. They say, yeah, my kids are trained in firearm safety. They absolutely know how to use a firearm safely and how to handle it safely. But then it comes down to, we believe you. We understand that to be true. What we're saying is that there is an importance to reduce the access to that firearm and create that pause in the situations where somebody is not mentally stable or experiencing a situational crisis. Pete just happened to be here. He volunteers here once a week at our desk. And I was just kind of chatting with him, probably stepped up onto my soapbox a little bit and just said, if we were able to increase safe storage of firearms, we could have reduced our suicides last year by half. And then, we got into this conversation because it's a very personal issue for him.
It gives me...
His family was that family. They're a family that accessed firearms on a regular basis as a recreational activity.
I promised my son that I'd find a way to help other people, other families, so nobody'd have to go through the things that I've had to go through.
Peter moved to Colorado 3 years ago after his 14-year-old son, Kyle, died by suicide.
Here's a kid who was loved by everyone. The loss of someone by suicide affects so many people. It's like dropping a water droplet into a pond and seeing the ripples. That's what happens. It affected, his mom, mom's family, all the aunts and uncles, my family, all my friends, and then my son's hockey team, all my son's good friends at school, the whole school. It didn't end. So it wasn't just only my loss. Everybody lost.
Last year we had 9 suicides by teenagers in El Paso County, and out of the 9, 6 of them were by guns.
And it really was building on the question of how can we in emergency departments help parents prevent suicide when their youth are at risk. What can they be doing around the home to help prevent deaths? When there was a youth who was seen in the emergency department and had some level of suicide risk, the clinicians were supposed to counsel parents about locking up firearms, locking up medications at home.
Anyone who had a gun would get as many cable locks as they wished, and we gave one lockbox to each family that had a gun and wanted that was suitable for 1 or 2 handguns. And every family got a medication lockbox as well.
It was very life-changing for me as an evaluator.
Andrea Wood is the Zero Suicide Coordinator at Memorial. She trains staff to screen every patient for suicide risk.
I've been here doing mental health evaluations now for 11 years, and it gave me a tool in my toolbox that we've always asked the question about guns, but it gave us a specific skill about how to talk to families in regards to where they have guns located in their house. Something I learned from asking questions is I would ask a mother or a father and say, do you have weapons in your home, and can I ask how you store them and where they are at? And most of the time they would share with us that their weapon was locked or hidden under their pillow at night. And then when we would ask the children the same question separately, or teenagers separately, what they would share with us is, yes, it's in the closet and mom and dad keep the key. And as we know, kids know where everything is. And then they also know that a lot of time mom uses the combination and uses the child's date of birth. And so it was amazing then to go back to a parent and to sit down with them and say, here's what your child knows. They know where your weapon is located. They know where all these things are. And that means they can act on it. And it's usually a split decision for kids. And with a gun, you usually can't come back from that.
Look, no parent wants to think that their child would ever want to hurt themselves, but unfortunately we know that it happens, and Colorado has one of the highest suicide rates in teens in the country. We also know that many of those suicides occur with a relatively short period of planning, sometimes only minutes to hours. So locking up firearms, locking up other dangerous items when someone is at risk can really save lives.
When somebody attempts with a firearm, pretty close to 90% of the time they're going to die. Whereas if someone attempts with some other method, it's less lethal. The research indicates that for those people who do survive, they usually do not try another method. They're found, they get help, and don't try again most of the time.
The study took place at Memorial and 6 other emergency departments around the state, and experts say the results are promising. So promising, Memorial is still giving out locks to families who may need them to stop a crisis from turning into tragedy.
What's really important is that we found at follow-up the families who had received counseling in the phase after training, those families were at least twice as likely to have locked up firearms or medications at home. That really suggests that this kind of counseling by clinicians has an effect. This study was conducted over the past few years, but I think the results are more important than ever right now. We know that the coronavirus is causing significant stress on families. It is critically important that if you have a firearm in your home, you make sure it is securely locked and not accessible to any youth, even youth who are trained because they have impulsive brains, or certainly not accessible to anyone who's going through a tough period. You know, I think we all go through this roller coaster in life of highs and lows, and a lot of people are in lows right now, and we can do a lot to look out for each other to make sure that we get through this period safely.
One of the most important things we can do is talk about these issues. Talk about suicide. Talk about depression. Talk about, all those hard topics.
Peter Leiser is now helping to look out for other families and seeking support for his grief.
If people ask me, when will it go away, or when will the pain stop, hurting? It won't. And actually, I'm okay with that. Because that's one of the few things, that's all I got left. So we keep fighting, and I keep trying to fulfill my promise.